welcome back to Rooted in the Middle, where I talk about real life, real work, and real faith. And today I'm talking about something very real, and it is why you're so tired, why I've been tired. I can only speak for myself, but I know many moms or women that have also been to this point where you are just tired. You are tired mentally. You are tired emotionally, physically, even spiritually. And sometimes it's hard to figure out why. Sometimes when we get so tired and caught up in the everyday, it's real easy to try to find quick fixes because we're moms, we're women. We like to take control. We like to get things done. We like to fix things. So, you can cut things out of your schedule. I'm exhausted. And, at the end of the day, you're like, I got to figure something out. Something has to give. You'll try to cut things out of your schedule. If you're still one of the ones that do your grocery shopping in person, maybe it's like, you know what, I'll give in. I'll do a grocery pickup order, and save some time that way. Maybe it's as simple as, you know what, I can't even think about making dinner. It's frozen pizzas on paper plates tonight, and I'm giving myself a break. But even after you do that, even after you eat the frozen pizza and there are no dishes to wash, maybe just a counter to wipe up, even that, you still sit down at the end of the day and you're still just completely drained. You might have people even do a make your own dinner where you don't even have to do the frozen pizza and everybody's having cereal, and that's fine. Just as a sidebar, cereal for dinner is fine. But even that doesn't do the trick. You just can't figure out why. This week I have realized why sometimes, you get so tired to a point where something's got to give, and no matter what you do, it doesn't get rid of the tired. I figured it out this week. My circumstances kind of pointed it out for me. I've been so tired, and maybe you have too, because we've been carrying things that God never asked us to carry. You've taken on problems or the opinions of others or the concerns from other people that were never yours to be worried about. And this could be in various forms. Maybe you're tired because of other burdens, the burdens of other people that have been placed upon you. Maybe it's by friends, or maybe it's by family. You have your own baggage to deal with every single day. You've got your marriage, you have your home, you have your finances, you have your kids. When others are constantly pouring their problems on you, on your shoulders, and maybe it's even with good intentions. Maybe it's, can you pray about this for me? But it's constantly, okay, now this has come up. Okay, now this has come up. Okay, now this has come up. If you care about other people who are asking you to bear these burdens with them, sometimes you care deeply about them and it troubles you. That can be a load that you were never meant to carry, but you're carrying it. Sometimes you willingly take that on, again, because you care about others and you want to be there for them. You want to pray for them, and praying for them is perfectly fine. You should be praying for, God called us to be part of a community of believers so that we can, bear one another's burdens. But there is a boundary that you have to set with that. Maybe they're constantly laying their burdens on you, but you don't feel comfortable going to them with yours. Maybe you're not comfortable putting your burdens on anybody else. Maybe you've not gotten to that point with anybody, or maybe it's they've got enough to worry about, obviously, so they're not going to be able to worry about mine. There's a lot to that. And even just, being the constant, bouncing ball or sounding board or whatever you'd want to say, for someone who needs to vent. Eventually that can be draining. You end up being the garbage pail, the garbage can for other people's opinions and other people's problems. And you need to be careful when you're venting, because a lot of times, if you're constantly receiving venting from somebody, that's just poisoning your soul. And if you're venting to somebody else, you need to make sure that that person actually has your best interest in heart. Vents, I saw this and it just rang so true for me. Vents lead to different rooms, and oftentimes the sound comes out distorted on the other end. So just keep that in mind. But, just constantly carrying somebody else's burdens is exhausting. Even if you don't feel the weight physically, even if you don't think about that as something that's adding to your stress or adding to your fatigue, just remember take note, how often am I being the one that's being asked to be praying for something or to be helping somebody with something. You can set boundaries. We'll talk about boundaries here in just a minute. One other reason you might be very tired lately is you're not saying no. You're not saying no enough or at all. Maybe this is in your work. It could be, sometimes at work, and that's a hard one. A lot of times in your job, if your boss is telling you need to do something, but it's not really within the scope of what you're responsible for, it can be a hard one to navigate. That can be very tricky. Hopefully you're in a situation where you've got a good boss and they'll acknowledge that, or, it'll be very sparingly that they ask you to do things that are outside of your scope of responsibility. But, sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes they just constantly lay it on you. And sometimes you may have to be an advocate for yourself and speak up about it. Maybe it's in your extracurriculars. Maybe you're taking on too much. Maybe it's your kids' extracurriculars. Because I know we don't like to tell our kids no. If they want to do something, a lot of parents want to figure out how to make it work. Maybe we need to tell them no because we can't afford it. And in order to afford it, I'm going to have to bust my butt and make this a big problem for me to figure out how to earn more, or how to find more money. Or maybe it's, we really don't have we've got 2 free days of the week. And if we add one more thing, we're going to have no free days in the week. Maybe you just gotta say no sometimes. And kids are resilient. They'll live. I know we like to people please. We like being the doer, the person that gets things done. I struggle with liking being the person that people can rely on. And that's in every facet of my life. I take a lot of pride, and I know this is a downfall, in being somebody that if they say, hey, we need to get this done, Becca will do it, and Becca will do it well. I take a lot of pride in that. But then I also have a lot of problems with setting boundaries and being like, I really can't take that on. Someone might, I know in the past I've been asked like, hey, can you get this done for me real quick? I would like to put this on social media today. Like, okay, yep, I'll do it. And I'll drop whatever I'm doing and do it because I like being able to be depended on, whether it was an appropriate ask or not. But it adds weight to our lives that we don't always see. We see it when we're finally at a breaking point and like, I can't take anymore. But no is an acceptable answer. No, one of my friends posted one time, and it's so true. No is a complete sentence. No is okay to say. You don't have to be hateful when you say no, but even if you can't give a good reason for why you're not doing something, whether your reason, and maybe it's a good reason, but you're just afraid to say it. No, I don't want to do that because that sounds terrible. Or I'm exhausted and I don't want to do it. I don't have time to do it. I don't want to find the time to do it. If you say no and someone presses you about it, you can just tell them, I'm not able to take anything else on right now. And if people who enjoy your friendship enjoy it only because you say yes, you need to get some different friends. Thankfully, I've never had, when I have had to say no, I've never had anybody raise a stink about it, thankfully. So I've been lucky in that regard. But I'm sure there are others who, as soon as you say no, it turns into an issue and you have to deal with it. So, but don't forget, one of the reasons you could be exhausted is that you're not saying no. And when you're a grown-up, you at some point have to figure out a way to be firm and stay, the Bible says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Say no, it's okay. So that's start saying no. Another reason you might be tired is that you're trying to control things that are out of your control. And that is something that I struggle with all the time. I am a control freak. I know this about myself. I will readily tell anybody I know, I am a control freak. If I was the kid in school where if there was a group project and they said, hey, we're going to do this and, whatever else, I would be the one that would be talking to the teacher saying, can I just do this on my own? Because I didn't want to have to rely on anybody else. I didn't want anybody else's shortcomings to result in a problem with my grade. I just did not want to have to depend on anybody else. I wanted to be in control. One of the things that's hard for me to let go of is controlling other people's opinions and thoughts and beliefs. Letting people be wrong about you is hard. We don't learn that at a young age. And trying to learn it as an adult is even harder. One thing I'm going through right now is figuring out, how do I let this go? I need to be okay with people being wrong about me. I need to be okay with having more to the story and other people not, and them believing what they believe. It's hard, you can't, it's hard to let go of the urge to defend yourself. When you're holding on to and you're carrying the opinions of others or the beliefs of others that in your heart aren't accurate, but you still want to fix it. You want to circle back and clarify. You want to bring the receipts that you have and show them, no, I can show you where I did say this or didn't say that. You want to make sure people don't think bad of you, don't think wrong of you. You don't want people questioning your motives. You want to make sure that they believe the right things, but you have to remember, those who truly know you, they won't just readily believe the worst about you. And you have to decide for yourself, if people do readily believe the worst about you, do you really need to lose a lot of sleep over that? I do, because, again, I want to defend myself. I want to control, I want to control everybody's opinion of me. I want to make sure that they know all the information. I don't worry about people being angry with me about things. I don't worry about that kind of thing, but be angry with all the information, I guess. One thing that God asks us to have is self-control. He doesn't ask us to control anybody else. We don't have the ability to control our surroundings or the people around us. We can't control what others do. We can't control what others think, and we can't control what others say. We can't control the narrative that someone else may craft about us. We can only control ourselves. I was talking with Cora it was within the last couple weeks, they had talked about the fruit of the Spirit at church. And we were not talking about church. We were not talking about Sunday school. We were not talking about anything. We were watching, I think, the Hunger Games. And out of nowhere, Cora said, Mom, what's your favorite fruit? And I said, this is a weird random question. And I went to say strawberry, and she cut me off and she goes, of the Spirit. I was like, oh, okay. Fruit of the Spirit. Gotcha. I told her, I said, my favorite fruit of the Spirit is peace. I said, I think, if you have peace, a lot of the other things come naturally, I feel like. So peace, I think, is my favorite fruit of the Spirit. And then we started talking about our least. And I said, I don't think I have a least favorite. I said, but the one that I struggle with the most is self-control. I know my faults. I know what I need to work on. And sometimes my emotions in my mouth will get the better of me. I know that. I might be a lot of things. I might be emotional and dramatic. I know this about myself. I can't control what others think. I can control myself, and I don't always. But the thing is, if I don't, I'll fess up to it. I'll own my misgivings, if given the chance. But we're going to wear out if we try to control everything else around us. We just can't. We just have to let it go. It's something that I'm working on. It's hard because God didn't call us to control everything. God didn't call anybody else to control me. God didn't call me to control anybody else. He didn't want us to control anything or anyone other than ourselves. So maybe if you're trying to control the narratives about you that other people might have, it's going to be exhausting. You're going to wear out. And this is going to wear you out emotionally and spiritually faster, I think, than anything else. And you just have to really pray and let God help you through that kind of a feeling. It's hard. And I get that. But, another thing that might have you, tired is that you've stopped paying attention to your discernment. I recently saw something online that explained discernment just in plain terms. And I've known what discernment is. I know what it is, but just to read it so plainly really helped. And it read, discernment is when you have no proof of what's going on, but you still know what's going on. It's knowing in your spirit that something is not right or that something is happening, and you need to be on alert about it. When you stop paying attention to the voice of the Holy Spirit and the discernment that you have in the Lord, you stop making your decisions and you stop moving with that in mind. You stop giving that extra level of care or consideration to how you approach life and approach situations. How many times have we not paid attention to what the Holy Spirit was trying to show us through discernment? And then we think back and think, man, you call it your gut feeling, but it's like, man, I should have trusted my gut on that one. No, that was discernment that you had and you ignored it. I know I've been there. I know several other people probably have been there too. It's a hard place. It's a hard place to be. You may be tired because, you're rowing a boat that you've allowed too many people on. Maybe you've allowed too many people's problems to jump on your boat with you, and you don't have the strength to row it anymore. If you're trying to navigate life, whether it's situations or hurt or your job or anything else, but you're also you've got everybody in your boat telling you different ways to do it, and trying to help you figure things out when you need to be going to God about it. It's hard. You're trying to pull more of a load than you really need to. If you're navigating your own hurt and you've got people around you constantly reminding you that you're hurt, or constantly pointing things out to you as a reminder of what the source of their hurt is, that's not helpful. Even if they say they're doing it with good intentions, they're reminding you that you're going through something, and that's not going to help you get through it. You've tried to set boundaries, but the people you've surrounded yourself with, they just want to make sure you remember that you're hurting rather than actually helping. Sometimes, even with good intentions, and maybe they're wanting to help you feel justified in your feelings or something, but the constant reminder that you're hurting isn't going to help you heal. When you have a scar or a scratch or an injury or a wound, and you put a Band-Aid on it, you put your medicine on it, you put the Band-Aid on it. If you've constantly got everybody in your corner opening up the Band-Aid to remind you that you're wounded, every time you open that Band-Aid, the elements come in. You've wiped away some of the medication. You've opened it to be susceptible to just getting worse rather than allowing it to heal. You have to really, really be careful that the ones that you're surrounding yourself with truly want you to heal, not justify anything that's happened to you, not make you feel better, or not trying to make you think about the worst. You need people that truly want you to heal and be restored. And sometimes if you've let people in that aren't like that, things are just going to fester and eventually become worse. Maybe you're trying to fix things for other people. Maybe getting others to their destination has caused you to forget your own purpose. Maybe you've spent so much time trying to fix things for other people while everything around you just continues to break down and break away. Maybe you're trying to meet the expectations of other people. Maybe you're not even trying to, but you just feel this responsibility to meet their expectations. Maybe you're not handling situations the way they feel you should be. Maybe you're not doing maybe you're not going directions in life that they feel like you should be going. Maybe you should have taken a job offer that you didn't take and now they're disappointed. Even when you allow those expectations or the weight of other people to sit on your life, you grow tired and you even grow bitter. You allow so much weight and responsibility and opinions of other people into your life. It's going to cause you to be bitter. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." Setting boundaries with people around you ensures that you're protecting your emotional and spiritual core, so that whatever flows from you, your words, your actions, they're life-giving rather than draining. If you guard your heart, because everything you need to guard your heart because everything you do flows from it. Guarding your heart, you can't guard anything without setting a boundary, without making sure that the outside world knows, hey, this is the limit that you have to me. We're responsible for our actions and our words. And that's where, again, I go back to the self-control. I know my words tend to just fly right out. So that's why it's important that we guard ourselves. We have to guard our heart and sometimes set boundaries to protect the source of our words, which is our heart. And boundaries are hard to set. I know, boundaries are fun to talk about and just sometimes terrifying to actually set. Every time I've seen several reels where they say me every time I set a boundary and they're just like that. That's literally me. Sometimes you can see on the horizon and know that you need to set a boundary. Sometimes you don't see it on the horizon and you realize it after it's too late. I should have set that boundary sooner. But a friend of mine this week reminded me, it's okay to set boundaries, to separate yourself and to use your discernment in who you're allowing to have access to your life. So think about all of this, pray about everything I've shared. Sometimes our fatigue in life isn't always because of our checklist. It's not always because of our to-do list. Rather, it's because we've tried taking on too much in other areas. Acknowledging your discernment, keeping yourself under control, setting necessary boundaries, and just, making sure that the weights you choose to carry or not carry, they're going to affect you. They'll affect you physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. We all have to take a step back sometimes and reevaluate what our primary focus is right now. And for me, it's my house. It's the 5 underneath my roof. I can't control what other people say or believe. I can't control what others try to throw at me. I can't control what others, think or say, but I can control if I'm going to carry it. I can control if I'm going to allow it to consume me. And it's one thing to be a prayer partner for somebody, but when someone has made their burdens your burdens, it's no longer a partnership. it's become a one-sided project of you constantly towing the line. It's been a week. It's been a week for our family, and it's been an eye-opening week, and it's really emphasized to me the importance of setting boundaries and acknowledging what I can control and acknowledging what I can't control, and the importance of self-preservation in order to have peace in our home. That's all I can do. We try really hard not to have hard feelings about different things in life. And that's in regards to our kids. It's in regards to the people around us. It's in regards to all kinds of different things. But when you start chiseling away all the extra, you start trimming away what doesn't matter and what does, when you start protecting your peace, again, when you start setting up boundaries, because if you don't set some boundaries, like I was saying, your heart may become bitter. And if you have a lot of bitterness in your heart, that's what's going to come out. And we truly don't want that. We truly don't want to get to a point where we wish we'd like to be looking at the horizon, setting these boundaries, then allowing things to fester and allowing hurt to take over our lives, and allow sin to grow in our hearts, and where we would end up coming to a point where there is no going back. It's okay if other people don't understand. It's okay if other people don't understand the boundaries that you set. It's okay if they don't understand your mindset. It's okay. God does. God knows you. He knows you inside and out. He knew you before he formed you. So I'm just going to be praying for everybody who might be tired, everybody who needs, some empowerment to set those boundaries, to acknowledge any changes they need to make in their life. And it's everything's going to be okay for everybody. And I'm excited, next week. I really enjoyed having my mom on with me last week. That was so much fun. Still obviously new to sets and stuff. So we did the best we could with what we had. Next week, I believe I'm going to also have a special guest on with me, and I can't wait for that. But I'm not going to tell you what that is yet, because I got to make sure there's time in their schedule to record, again, without overtaking their time. So, but anyway, I hope the best for you. I hope the best for everybody. I'm praying blessings over everybody. And I want you to, if you're feeling just tired, look outside of your checklist. Check who's in your boat with you. All right. So have a great week, and I'll see you next week on Rooted in the Middle.